The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
Greetings, Covenant, and welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. You can think of us as the Tommy Callahan and Richard Hayden of gaming podcasts. We're a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network and a member of the Make Us Better team over on Patreon. I am one of your hosts, Kyle, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the only guy I'd want to go on a cross-country road trip with selling brake pads. Josh, how you been doing, sir?
Oh, just another wonderful day in the life of Josh. It's like you knew I needed brakes for one of my cars. It was very timely. That's funny. Now, I'm going on hour 12 of a migraine from today, so it's been a long day.
Man, so you're on hour 12 of migraine. I am just getting over being pretty darn sick, as you can probably still hear in my voice, and I apologize. I will try to mute before I sneeze or cough, which I know I'm going to as we record this. But yet here we are, powering through.
You'd think it wasn't the middle of summer and it was like fall or winter time.
Well, for me, and maybe, I don't know, obviously migraines are a little different, and I suffer from migraines myself, and I get them not too often, about once a month. But I always get sick when school starts. Without fail, I get sick when school starts. So
there you go. Prophecy fulfilled.
I know. Every year. And then I was dumb and I'm on vacation this week. So now I'm sick. Well, I already took vacation, which is great. That's a great way to use my vacation time. Are you a fan of the movie Tommy Boy?
I love Tommy Boy. It's a classic comedy, classic buddy comedy.
So are you a bigger fan of the Chris Farley movies of that generation and era, or a bigger fan of the Adam Sandler movies of that generation and time frame?
I mean, they're both kind of the time. They're both kind of great movies. I think the Chris Farley ones are more my style, as much as I like the early Adam Sandler ones. I mean, they both had some not so great ones back then, but for the most part, Chris Farley was a genius. Adam Sandler is relatively, his recent track record has smudged his name a little bit, but other than that, he's a pretty great comedian as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy the movies of that generation. But yeah, Tommy Boy was great. Tommy Boy was really good. Lots of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah. They're called doctors.
It always gets referenced.
I know.
Work, so yeah, you can tell it's timeless.
Yeah, I think the hard part is I think I saw the Adam Sandler movies more, so I can more easily quote like Billy Madison and all of that stuff than I can the Chris Farley movies. But I think on a laugh for laugh basis, I think the Chris Farley movies actually might win out.
For sure.
But hey, this isn't a movie podcast. This is a gaming podcast. So thanks so much for joining us this week. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter, or check out all of the excellent photos that Josh posts over at Board with VG on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/boardwithvg. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. If you want to send us a more long form communication, we love those at boardwithvg@gmail.com. And as always, on all the social medias, use #BoardWithVG so we can check out the things that you're playing, the things that you're doing, and feel free to tag us too, because we appreciate that. If you are interested in helping make us better, check out patreon.com/makeusbetter. And a big thanks to all of our Patreon supporters out there. Because of you, we truly are making things better. Josh has a new mic. Things are sounding better other than me because of my voice this week. But hey, we really appreciate if you're able to chip us in a buck or two. But if you're not, we just really appreciate that you listen. And as a final reminder, Metafall contest is going on now. You have until Friday, September 7th at midnight Eastern time to submit your picks. Hit up the psvg.blog, look at our pinned tweet, or listen to episode 46 for all the rules. you could win a free video game that is releasing this fall. Again, entries due September 7th at midnight. And hey, Spider-Man's doing pretty great. So remember the Spider-Man score you can nail, but that one won't count. But yeah, feel free. We'd love to get some more contestants in that. We have a good number of entries already, but we are definitely looking for more. Just guess what you think some of the 10 biggest games of the fall, what their Metacritic score is going to be. The list is over on psvg.blog, like I said. And send in those guesses over to boardwithvg@gmail.com. Hey, that was a lot of housekeeping, more than usual. So enough of all that stuff. Josh, what have you been playing on your tabletop, sir?
So nothing new this week to talk about. We did play. We finally got our two friends who haven't played. Well, two of our remaining four friends that haven't played Villainous yet. So we got that to the table the other night. So it's the first time we played with four. They are two more, the more adept players that have played Villainous with us. So I think they took to it pretty quickly. It was a relatively long game. We decided to use the Fate token with four players. I think that was the right decision because there was definitely times in the game where people would have been abusing that system. So I think I'm typically not one to criticize rules for games because I think they're made that way for a reason, but I really think they missed out on not making that fate marker a requirement with 4 or 5 or 6 players. I get why with 3 players you kind of want to leave that open, but with 4 players I really feel like it enhanced our friends' experience playing the game. Of course, I'm just assuming because we haven't played it. 4 players without the fate token. Still, everyone was relatively close. It came down to maybe the last few turns, and my wife got unlucky because I played a hero on one of her curses because she was Maleficent again. We all thought she was going to win. And then it came back one more swing, and I ended up winning. But our two friends were probably 1 or 2 turns away from also winning, so it was very competitive. It was fun, and the first thing that stood out to them was the art, of course, and the mechanics as well. So they're big fans of that. So once again, I think it's great at 4 players. I can say that definitively now. 5 players, I'm still on the fence on though. And so I'm still looking to knock out 3 and 6 players and see what this game can really do with the full player available count, if you will. And then we played the game again. I told them I just had a quick game that they could play. It's $12 at Target. And they instantly loved it. We actually ended up finishing with 6 cards left over, and at the end of the instructions it says, if you are down to 10 or less cards, it's considered doing an excellent job. So we obviously didn't win by getting all of our cards out, but it's such a great easy thinking game. Like, you have to do some thinking, but it's a really easy game to kind of just sit down and play. You can even do it when distracted, relatively distracted, but if you just want to sit down and play a game before bed or before dinner while the kids sleeping or take it to the beach, whatever, this is the perfect game to bring because it's different every time you play it. It's challenging. You can play with 1 player, so you can play by yourself if it's a down day and you don't have anything to do. So I think it's become an essential travel game for me as well. So I'm really big on that game as well. And that's it. That's how we played.
Excellent. So I'm going to back up really quick. And I know we've talked about Villainous numerous times on this podcast, but here's my quick question for you about Villainous. Number 1, when do you think the first expansion will be coming out for Villainous? And number 2, I know we talked about who we wanted as far as characters, but who do you think will be the next characters that are in the first Villainous expansion?
I would be surprised if we see an expansion this year, but I'd be excited. I would guess, when does con season start up again? In March?
Yeah, depending.
So I think it might not. I don't think we'll see anything until. They're selling like crazy. So if they're motivated to make expansions, more power to them, but I bet we don't see anything till like March. I think Cruella de Vil obviously has to be one since she's on the back of the instruction booklet. There's so many classics they can still go to. So like Cruella de Vil, I think would be an obvious choice. I think Hades might be a good choice. Keeping it in that like vein of like the current characters that are there. Trying to think of classic Disney villains. The Hunter from Bambi.
Oh wow, that would be interesting.
Or just like humankind. No, I don't know. I don't think they can do like they couldn't do Bambi or anything like that. I don't know. What do you think for other villains that are for like probably going to happen?
I mean, I think Cruella de Vil is definitely one. I think I'm trying to think of like the era of movies that they are from. So maybe Scar is going to be
Scar.
one.
Yeah, Scar would be a good one.
And I think that would be a cool one to bring in. And I think the art there would be really awesome. Obviously, they're just like the rest of them. So I feel like, Cruella de Vil, I think Scar would be a really good next one. Outside of that, I'm trying to think who else I feel like. I mean, do you do
Could do Shere Khan.
I was going to say either Shere Khan or do you do like Governor Ratcliffe or something like that potentially?
Yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah, so I think there's some good options there for them, and I'm excited. I think you're right. I think in spring is maybe when we'll see something. I could potentially see, especially with how well this game seems to be doing, that maybe we get an announcement before the end of the year, but that we don't actually see the expansion until sometime in spring. Which even for board games is moving pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a quick turn time. But I mean, look at like Terraforming Mars, and like they have like 3 expansions out now.
Yeah,
the game's
that's very true.
A year and a half old.
That's very true. That's very true. And depending, how I'm sure it's probably selling well. And I just don't know when working with, and obviously we've heard other things in like, especially the video game world when it comes to working with Disney, also Marvel and all that stuff of like, how quickly do they need to, or how much input and how much approval has to happen before they can do these things. And like in a situation like this, where the art's really good looking, but they've obviously like taken, it's not just like, photo like, hey, we snapshot it's not just a screenshot from a movie. Like, right. How long does it take to develop all of that and get all of that going? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because I think this is something that they want to capitalize on quickly. I think if they knew it was going to be as successful as it was, I'm surprised kind of that they didn't have an expansion ready to go for the holiday season already.
Right.
Where they knew, because there's games where like, oh, especially you see it on Kickstarter where they're like, hey, here's the game and the first expansion all in one Kickstarter. Seems like that could have been something that they did, where maybe they've developed other characters already that are just in the chute ready to go. They just haven't talked about them yet. So it's possible if they're not starting from scratch in development or design, that maybe there will be something sooner than that.
Yeah, we still have a few more conventions where they could announce something.
Absolutely. So those are the games you've been playing. Josh, I'm a horrible podcast member. I haven't been playing any board games. Like I said, I've been really sick, and so sick to the point that I didn't want to play board games, which doesn't happen very often. So I didn't play anything. I didn't even play anything on like a board game app on my phone even. That's okay. How
sometimes when you're sick, you're sick.
So very rarely do I get to that point that I always can tell when I'm really sick when I don't want to play games, and I didn't really play many video games either. So that's how I know that I was actually quite under the weather. So yeah, nothing really got played on the board game side, though I am going to take a moment. Have you seen the Kickstarter for Starcadia Quest?
I have.
What is your are you an Arcadia Quest fan? Did you enjoy the regular Arcadia Quest? I feel like we've talked about this.
We haven't.
Okay.
It's just too expensive. I was never able to get into it. I've always been interested in it. Ever since I played Descent 2nd Edition, I kind of got interested in those style of games. Mm-hmm. And I believe I also played, maybe I have played Arcadia Quest. I feel like I've played if they have like a sub-genre of Arcadia Quest games, like, I played like it was like Masmora's Dungeon or something like that.
Okay.
A very similar style game,
right?
And I played it once, and I remember liking it. But like, someone plays like a dungeon master, and everyone else plays together in whatever game we played. I always see like my local game store has like a big giant cardboard box with a clear screen, and it says like massive Arcadia Quest collection, $129, and it comes with all this stuff. And I'm like, even at that price, I know I'm sure I'm getting more than the value, but like, I don't know. That's a lot of money to spend on something I'm not sure that I'll be able to play a lot.
Right. And I mean, looking at this, because I have been always interested in Arcadia Quest. I always wanted to get into it. And then I saw Starcadia Quest. And I was like, oh man, maybe this is the way to do it. And then I saw that, the general base core box is $80. But if you want everything, it's $120. And I was like, man, I just spent, $150 on Thunderstone Quest and like all these other things. And I'm just like, I don't know that I can keep doing this.
Yeah, I can't jump on that. I'd love to play it though. So maybe it's something I'll seek out at a convention to play.
Right. And then I also saw that WizKids is doing a Quarriors Ultimate Edition. Have you seen this?
Yeah, Quarriors Quultimate Collection.
Yeah, Quarriors Quultimate Quedition.
Oh, that's right.
Quedition. QUE.
I think I have all the Quarrior stuff though.
Oh, well, there you go. Then you got it taken care of.
So I don't know. Tom Vassell was talking about it on Board Game Breakfast, and he was like, I don't know who this is for. Like, if you already have it all, I guess there's some promos and stuff included in it. So, like,
right.
I suppose if people wanted to sell what they currently have and get that collection, just to have it all together would be fair. I mean, it's a great game, and it's the godfather of Dice Masters.
Right.
And, it feels fresher because it's not a current IP. Everything's original.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like actually playing something that's unique. Not that Dice Masters isn't, but it's branded, so it definitely has that like stigma to it.
Right.
But I'm a huge fan of the Quarriors game. So I mean, if people don't have it, it's a great game, and it's great for families too, not just for adults.
Awesome. All right. So, hey, that's what we've been playing on our tabletops. Not much different or anything super unique this week. At least some of us played some stuff, though. Nice job, Josh. Thanks. So, Josh, have you been playing anything on your television screen?
I have. Today, I started the Battlefield 5 beta. So that was something I did. It has 3 modes. I thought this was interesting. And I can't remember the names of the modes, unfortunately. There's the War Theater. I can't think of the names. Anyway, the 2 new modes for me, new to me modes, they're probably not new to the game. One is the mode where it tells a story over 3 days. I want to keep calling it Battle Theater. It's something theater. Theater of War, something like that. So what you do is you jump into a map. You are automatically placed on a side, and you play. So like I would say like 30 minutes is average for like a play time for one of these. Mm-hmm. You play through that, and then it tells a story of an actual battle that happened, and it progresses you through the story into day 2, and then you do a different map and with different objectives. You complete that, and depending on who wins, I think it alters parts of the missions, and then you do day 3, and then it kind of wraps it up. And that's just one map in the beta that they let you do. The other one was where you drop in through the off the planes. You paratroop in. Mm-hmm. I should have wrote down the names of these. That was really fun too. You drop in. You're storming a village, like a snowy village, and then the bad guys or good guys, depending, are on the AA guns trying to shoot you down, and your goal is to blow up all the anti-aircraft guns and take over these objectives. And then you can spawn on teammates once they're down, like a squad is formed. So when you join, you have a squad. It's like 4 people, which is kind of like when you play like Fortnite. But you can squad spawn. So you don't have to be talking to them via the headset. But, if you die way back and you want to spawn instead of jumping out of the plane, you can spot it. These aren't like groundbreaking things. They're in most shooters.
Right.
But I think they've taken it, I don't know if it's to a different level or not, but the game looks incredible. There was literally a part where a building was shot. I was in a building, a tank shot it, and it literally collapsed on top of me and killed me. So they really did a great job with the building physics, which is something they were really talking about for Battlefield 5. And then the third mode was Conquest. I can remember Conquest because that's the big 6 to 64 player multiplayer map. And that map is, well, that part was the one I felt the most like my bad Battlefield experiences.
Okay.
Where you're getting killed from you don't know where, and there can be a lot going on, and sometimes there's nothing going on. And you're just running to get to somewhere because there's no one doing anything in your spawn area. And it has like 6 objective points you need to take over. But you can never, there's never this balance. There's a balance, but in the negative way. You can never maintain all the checkpoints. It's like we went 30, 40 minutes without anyone winning because when everyone's trying to take location A while the enemy goes back and takes E. And it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right.
That's a lot of locations to control. So that one gave me the least excitement because it felt like old Battlefield and Battlefront, to be honest. But the other 2 modes, I had a really great time playing, and I'm looking forward to playing some more.
Is it Grand Operations?
Yes, Grand Operations. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I played that today for a few hours.
And you played that because you have EA access, correct?
Yeah, so you get it 2 days early for EA access. So for everyone else, the open beta is on the 6th of September, which is Thursday.
When you're listening to this podcast.
Yes, when you hear this, you can go home and play Battlefield 5. Open beta. And I downloaded Planet of the Apes, The Last Frontier, which I am a big fan of the new Planet of the Apes movies. This game takes place after the last Planet of the Apes movie.
Before we go any further,
yes,
can you tell me, without looking, the order of the new Planet of the Apes trilogy in the correct order?
It's
the 3 of them.
It's Planet of the Apes. That's James Franco.
So there's War was the most recent one, right?
That's the third one.
But what's first, Dawn or Rise? Because it's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and War.
Dawn is first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because Rise is when they all get out of the zoo. So it's the Rise. And that's the one that without Franco. Well, 2 of them don't have Franco. I'm pretty sure Rise was second.
I'm pretty sure Dawn is second.
That can't be right.
I'm almost positive. Okay, I'm going to look while you talk. Sorry, continue on.
You have to. Well, we need to know now because now I'll feel like a fool. Maybe it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the first one. But this isn't a movie podcast. It is now. We need to look this up.
Let's see.
It was Rise of the Planet of the Apes was the first one.
Right, which I never thought made any sense. Which is why I asked this question, because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. How do you rise before you dawn?
Okay.
Like the sun, you have dawn and then the sun rises. I don't know. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
Okay, so it starts, I think it takes place in 2027. It is an episodic game. It is by Fox, their entertainment division, which this might be their first game that I've either seen or played, one of the two, or both. So it's basically Telltale made Planet of the Apes game. The CG cutscenes are incredible for the apes. The humans, you can tell they didn't do as much work on the modeling, which is a bummer. But Andy Serkis was a director and producer on the game, so I'm assuming he was like, we're focusing on the apes. It tells a story of, this is post-Caesar, and tells a story of 3 brothers and their father, who's the king of this little clan of apes, who are now living in a mountain because they're trying to avoid war with humans. But when you start the game, you play both the apes and the humans. And for the apes, you are running out of food and you need to make some decisions on what you're going to do. For the humans, You are playing a new leader of a colony. I won't spoil anything in case you just had to play it because you do own it. You're playing a new leader of a colony, and you have to make some decisions for this colony. Not too dissimilar from like when you get to the motel in the first season of Walking Dead. The game has some stutters, just like any Telltale game, even though it is not Telltale. I think they would get that. I think they fixed that. We did have the game freeze on us twice at pivotal scenes where you had to make a decision. The first time we had to restart it, and luckily the save point was right before. The second time we had a little bit more ways to make up, but at least you don't lose all your progress. It also shows you at the end of chapters the relationship trees. So like people, your relationship with this guy, this guy, this guy, shows you if people are deceased. It'll say that, which I think is cool too. There's a prologue, and I think there's 5 chapters. I think we're in chapter 3. It offers 1 to 4 players, which immediately intrigued me. I sat down with my wife and I was like, hey, check this game out with me. I didn't know it was multiple players. I just thought you'd like watch it with me and we would just talk about it. And it pops up how many players. So I grab a controller and we went off, and the way it handles decision making, it tells you right away, inevitably you guys will contradict each other. And everyone gets 1 tiebreaker until everyone's used a tiebreaker. So the first connotation comes up, a confliction, and you know, usually with these games like this, these choices are very different and can lead down bad paths and good paths. So then you have to like sit there and decide, do you want to like concede to the person you're playing with and pick what they chose, or do you want to risk your tiebreaker and say like, no, I made the right decision? And sometimes when you both have tiebreakers, it's a race to whoever picks theirs first. And then you just kind of have to deal with those consequences. I really like the story. It definitely has its like cliche storytelling bits to it. But I really like that like storyline, so I can look past that. The voice acting is very good. If you can look past the character models, which sometimes are really good and sometimes are really bad, so I'm not sure what the deal is, but there would be times in action scenes where I could see the ground dropping in front of me while the scene was happening, or like right in front, not like far away, like close up dropping. So it's definitely a little rough around the edges, but for $20, I think it's if you're a fan of Planet of the Apes, it's worth it. Maybe wait, see if it goes on sale, which probably will. And the same, if you don't love Planet of the Apes but are interested, wait for a sale. I think it's still definitely worth having been played.
Have you finished it?
No, we're only in act or chapter 3, whatever they go by.
Of how many you know how many chapters there are?
I think it's 5. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Though. It doesn't really tell you.
Gotcha.
But we played for 2 hours, and that got us through the prologue and then act 1 and act 2.
Okay, very cool. Anything else you've been playing other than Battlefield and Planet of the Apes?
That's it. It was a adventurous Labor Day weekend. We were on the trail a lot.
Gotcha. I saw many photos, not many,
yes,
but some photos of being on the trail. So I decided that I needed to patch a hole in my gaming backlog, or not, I should say backlog, a hole in my gaming knowledge, I will say, because while I was waiting for Spider-Man to come out, I was like, I need something to play. I have some time off. And I knew what I was going to play. I was going to play Life is Strange Before the Storm, so Donnie would stop bothering me about it. So that's what I was going to do. But then at Gamescom, Microsoft was like, hey, Halo Master Chief Collection coming to Game Pass. I have Game Pass. Hey, Halo Master Chief Collection, 4K, HDR, all this stuff. That seems great. I don't own that collection yet. And the only Halo, and I started Halo with Halo 3. That was the first Halo I played. I never played 1 or 2. So I said, you know what? We're going to go back and we're going to play Halo Combat Evolved. And the brilliant part about it is Kevin is playing it as well.
Yeah.
And Kevin started it, and Kevin wasn't super impressed. So I said, okay, I'm going to start this game, and we'll see how this goes. Now, I'm assuming you've played Halo, Josh?
Yes.
Have you played
It's
it
a fair
recently?
assumption. The original?
Yeah.
I have Master Chief Collection. So I played it when that came out, but it
So
was
you
a hot,
did. Okay,
it was
so
a
you
hot
did
mess.
through it.
I didn't fully finish it, but I also I didn't play the Combat Evolved anniversary when it came out. So it was like my first time kind of like experiencing that.
Okay.
So yeah.
So here's what I will say, because like I said, I've played Halo 3 was my intro to Halo. I played a lot of hours of Halo 3 multiplayer, and I actually really almost just jumped straight into multiplayer because there's Halo 3 specific playlists and stuff, which is obviously really great. So I almost jumped right into that, but I didn't. I said, no, I'm going to start this from the beginning. I'm going to play through these games in order because I enjoyed Halo. Like, I had fun with it. It's one of those game series that anytime someone's like, we should play Halo, I'm down to play Halo. I'm not very good at it anymore, but I'm happy to play it.
Halo 1 is hard.
So, well, that's what I've heard. And I probably won't play Halo 1 multiplayer is my guess. I probably am not going to do that. But I said, hey, we'll experience this story. This seems fine. Whatever, we'll jump in. So let me say, number one, this game holds up far better than I anticipated it was going to. Obviously, the game there's been some graphics work done on it, and you can switch back and forth. It looks pretty good. It still definitely looks like an upgraded old game. It doesn't look like a modern game. But, for the work they've done on it, it looks pretty great. The skyboxes especially look pretty good in this new upgraded, polished version of it. The story is more... I can follow the story better than I thought I was going to be able to. So that's good. I know what's going on right now. I understand everything that's happening. I'm following what is going on. The shooting in the game feels really good. I'm impressed because the game is a little older. It was the first quote unquote real shooter on consoles that seemed to work really well. But things have still progressed and gotten better since then. But it still feels pretty good. There's a couple weird things with it of how the controls are laid out, and yes, you have to click down the right stick to zoom, but you also don't zoom that often in Halo. At least the first one. So, there's no DMR or BR to be using right now. So not a lot of zooming, and not that I zoom much with BR anyway. But so there's that, number one. You don't aim down sights very often anyway. It is a little weird using the left trigger, though, for grenades.
Right.
But the only time that's a problem is when I have a sniper rifle. If I'm using my pistol, I have no problems clicking down to aim. But for some reason, when I have the sniper rifle in my hands, I can't wrap my head around it fast enough and end up throwing a grenade. Luckily, grenades are pretty plentiful, so it's not a huge deal. With that said, I have a few nitpicks. Number one, and I'm assuming this wasn't in the original, but you will walk up to these terminals and it's hit right bumper to access the terminal, and you do, and then it takes you to the Halo out of the game to the Halo Waypoint app thing, TV, whatever.
Really?
Yeah, which is great, other than it doesn't always work. So
Why does it do that?
I don't know. One time it tried to do it multiple times and it would just it can't connect. I'm like, okay, well, that's awesome. So I guess this is just, but then I'd have to actually hit the Xbox button to select Halo Master Chief Collection to get back to the game. I couldn't just back out. I actually had to hit and go and select the game to get back in. And I didn't lose any progress. I was right where I had been. The game was just paused. But then one time it did it and it started showing a cutscene. But I didn't know if this was a cutscene. I was supposed to know what was going on because I had no idea what was happening. I'm watching this. Is this supposed to be happening on this Halo that I'm on right now? What's going on with this? This thing looks a lot like a ghost, actually. So is this Destiny? What's happening here right now? And then halfway through, it just stopped. And then it is can't connect to the waypoint anymore or the app or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, this is cool. So then I had to go back and do that again and go back out. So it was just really weird, right? I got achievements for doing it, so I guess that's cool. But that was just very odd. I think if it worked, it might be really cool that maybe it's adding some additional lore or storytelling by incorporating this new stuff. And that'd be awesome. It just didn't work all the time. The only other issue I have with the game is that, and maybe it's because I suck, I actually haven't died that often, but I feel very often I don't have the guns I want.
Right.
Or the guns that even do me any good. There will be times where there are cloaked characters and I have expended all of my ammunition So I have like a needler, which doesn't lock on to anything when they're cloaked. So that's super helpful. Like I've run into a few situations where it's like that, or where the autosave is in a place where like as soon as it came back up, I had like grenades exploding around me. So then I immediately like lost all of my shield. So I was like, well, that's not super helpful either. Again, nitpick, not a huge deal. Just a couple times where I was like, I'm in a really tough situation here. I have basically no ammo. I can't find another gun of any sort. And I have 2 cloaked elites here that I have to try to take out.
Right.
Great. So that was a little annoying. So I just ran away. I just ran past them and just kept going. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do, but that's what I did. And the story progressed. So I guess that's fine. But yeah, so overall, I'm really enjoying it. I'm on chapter, I think, 4 of 10, 5 of 10, right in that ballpark. So about halfway through. Still enjoying it, having a good time. Plan to continue it. Hopefully, I will finish Halo Combat Evolved before Spider-Man comes out. And then after Spider-Man comes out, depending on whether or not we get Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I will then jump into Halo 2, which I've also never played. But yeah, Halo, still fun. Who would have known? Who would have thought? Still fun. I do want to play some multiplayer, though. I haven't done that yet, and I would love to jump in and play a little more multiplayer. I just wonder if I jumped in, and I'm assuming the Halo 1 controls are not the controls that they use for multiplayer for, like, Halo 3. Yeah. So that might be a little odd, and I might mess that up a little bit. But that's about the only thing I've been playing. Otherwise, just still working on Overcooked, still plugging away at Octopath Traveler, really just waiting as patiently as I can, which has not been that patient, for Spider-Man to come out on Friday. So awesome.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, hey, that's all the stuff we've been playing on our televisions and our tabletops. Josh, what do you say we roll into ye old topics of the show?
What a great idea. What a great idea. All right, so let's do it. On occasion, unexpected team-ups occur. And recently, it's been everywhere. One happened in the board gaming world with Stonemaier Games and Bezier Games announcing Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. It's a mashup of their respective properties. It's between two cities, which I've never played or ever heard of. I'm not sure about you.
You've never heard of Between Two Cities?
No.
Oh.
I feel like it should be a book I heard of. It's not. So it's a mashup between Two Cities and the Castles of Mad King Ludwig. The game is expected to hit retail October 19th, which is a great timeline. But this has us wondering, what other game mashups would we like to see? And what games would you guys, our lovely listeners, like to see? Tweet at us and let us see what you would like mixed up in the board game world. But Kyle, do you have something to start with?
Well, I definitely do. First off, before we jump into that, are you interested in this game? Do you think you'll be picking it up? What are your thoughts on Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which I understand why that's the name, but I think that's not a good name.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I love Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I have the Palace of Mad King Ludwig, which I want to get to the table soon. I was going to try to do this weekend. It didn't work out. And I just kind of love everything Stonemaier's Games does, even if I haven't played a majority of their games. I just love how much time and effort they put into the artwork and the production for their games. So I'm just kind of thrilled that these two worlds are meeting. And it makes me want to try Between Two Cities. But I'm just kind of thrilled they're doing something together. Because we kind of need that. I feel like everyone's siloed off.
Right. Between Two Cities is pretty cool. It's a pretty... it's definitely a family game, pretty lightweight, like city building game.
Okay.
So yeah, I've only played it once. It was a while ago. But yeah, it's cool stuff.
Nice. Very cool.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Yeah, so my first mashup, I have a few mashups that I would like to have. Some of these are video games, some of these are board games, some of these are board and video games. So we'll see how this goes. I have 3 that I wrote down. And the first one is going to be the one that crosses over between video games and board games. And I would love to see a board game of this. And that would be a crossover of Dead of Winter with Resident Evil.
Oh.
Where if you take, like Raccoon City as the city that they're in, and you take the characters from really as many of the Resident Evil movies as you games and movies as you wanted to, and put them as the characters that you typically play in Dead of Winter. You'd probably have to tweak the mechanics a little bit. You could obviously add kind of a boss like the Nemesis and things like that. So there's some cool things you could do there. But I think that exploring the city, it might be a little more combat oriented than probably Dead of Winter is. But I think it'd be kind of a cool crossover and a way to get Resident Evil onto the table in a way, because I think that, there's been Resident Evil card game and a couple of other things, but I think a Dead of Winter mashup with Resident Evil or using that theming, I think has a lot of possibilities. Flathead Games, you can take that one for free. Go talk to Capcom, hit them up. Resident Evil Dead of Winter, Resident Winter. I don't know what you'd call it, but something like that. What are your thoughts on Resident Evil and Dead of Winter?
I think it's a great pairing. It makes sense. Especially with the crossroads mechanic and the survival elements of the game. I think it fits in perfectly with that.
Yeah, so that would be very excited to see that, and that is something I would definitely play. Sir, how about you? What's a mashup that you would be interested in?
Well, sometimes we're so far away, but sometimes I think we're just on the same wavelength sometimes without even talking, because I picked Resident Evil and Mansions of Madness.
That would be great too. That'd be really good.
And I was trying to think of the name of the house they go to in Resident Evil 1, and I couldn't think of it because I was trying to think of a clever title for the game. But someone would play as the house, just like in Mansions of Madness.
Spencer? Is it Spencer?
I don't know. I keep wanting to say Winchester, and I know that's not it.
I think it's Spencer. I think it's the Spencer Mansion. I could be wrong, but that's what I feel like it is.
Whatever, we would call the game that. It would just be called the name of the mansion they're in.
Okay.
And you would just go in. It doesn't have to be Resident Evil 1. You can incorporate all the characters from Resident Evil as playable characters. Obviously, each person would have their own special skills because you have to kind of compensate for the investigator skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even really have to be that much different from the mansion's board. I think, though, something that I know Mansions of Madness is thriving on right now is that digital aspect of the game. I really think this would need to be non-digital 3D pieces, tangible, something you feel like you're doing. However, if you really wanted to cling to the video game aspect of it, they got that mastered, so you could do it just as the tablet version. Or maybe we see the first video game incorporation into a board game where you put the board in the middle of the room and people use the play share system. Or
that'd be interesting.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, share play.
Share play. So people are playing with the board in the front on the table, but you're interacting with the game on the TV, something like that. But the first thing I thought of was Resident Evil and Mansions of Madness.
Very cool. So the next one that I have is, it's not really necessary. There is a board game of this, but this is not a quote unquote board game property. But anytime we get to talk about mashups or things that we want to see made into a game, I always am going to throw this out again because I really, really want it. And that's a Harry Potter Skyrim game. I really want a in-depth, huge, open-world Harry Potter role-playing game. And I know, I think about the fact that because Ubisoft is making an Avatar game, right?
Yes.
Why can't? How are we not at the point yet where Warner Brothers is like, yo, one of our studios, or yo, let's team up with someone to make a huge Harry Potter role-playing game. And I know there's the mobile one that came out not that long ago. I played it for a day and was totally over it. My wife is addicted to it and still playing. But Harry Potter's a $25 billion franchise? They can't come up. And Hogwarts Battle is a great board card game. I love Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. I want them to come out with more expansions for it and continue to do stuff for that game. I think that game is great. But I think it's a travesty that we don't have a legitimate, good Harry Potter role-playing game. I don't understand. I feel like this game would sell gangbusters. If they can make Kingdom Hearts, they can make a Harry Potter role-playing game. Yeah. Maybe that should be the mashup. Maybe the mashup should be, which would be impossible because it'd be Disney and Universal. But maybe they should make Kingdom Potter. I don't know. Final Fantasy characters and Harry Potter characters. Whatever it needs to be to make this game to happen. I want to create a wizard. I want to go to Hogwarts. I want to fight things and get sorted into a house. Hufflepuff for the win. This is dumb. I don't understand why we don't have this game yet. Done. My rant is over. What do you think? Do you want a Harry Potter role-playing game?
I want more Harry Potter everything. Like, I just saw today that they were doing Harry Potter code names, and
that's right.
They have that crazy expensive $400 Harry Potter miniature game. That's stupid. They should not be able to do that. But yeah, there definitely needs to be more Harry Potter stuff. It's a great milkable license.
It really is. But the thing is, it's milkable, but they can make good stuff with it. You know, they don't have to make cash and stuff. They can make a really great game because there's so much lore. There's so many stories to be told. Just so disappointed that hasn't happened yet. What is your next mashup, sir?
So this is a crazy one.
Okay.
And it does kind of do the same mixing of video games and board games, although it's arguably also a board game. Century, Pallet Town. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
No.
Do you know what Pallet Town is?
I don't.
Pokemon.
Well, that's why I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about Pokemon.
I think it's Pallet Town, actually. I don't even really know. I put on season 1 of Pokemon for my kid, and I kind of caught, I think, Pallet Town or City.
When I went to Twitch today, they were watching Pokemon on the front page.
I know there's like a city, and I would probably name it that, but I don't know the name of the city either.
Yeah. Pokemon, another huge gap in my gaming knowledge.
Yeah, well, mine too, really, except for Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Stadium. That was right in my timeline. I had no Pokemon experience, but I'm playing Pokemon Snap late night in college. Century series meets Pokemon, and literally you can have, instead of gems, you have the different types of Pokeballs. So I'm sure I could try to name them, but I won't. I know one's Ultra Ball. And what you would do is you would have the market would be traded with like from Pokemon Go. I know you can use like raspberry, like fruits to like get Pokemon and all these things. And then instead of the golems or the victory points, you have all these different Pokemon. But you can make it more like intense because you have to get like, maybe you can make it so a certain Pokeball can give you a better chance of more victory points if you get it, or whatever the case may be. But taking that license into a like drafting, collecting kind of game, I think it probably could work for a bunch of board games. But I think for me, like the Century series is so good that I feel like it kind of lends a decent ear to Pokemon. I think that would be really cool to see.
Awesome. How many more mashups do you have?
I have one bad one left.
Oh, I only have one more too, so we'll do them. That'll be perfect.
Okay.
All right, my final mashup, and this is one of those things that it probably isn't as much of a mashup as it is two characters or two games in the same genre that I think should do some sort of crossover event because it would be ridiculous and fun and over the top. And I want to see a Devil May Cry Bayonetta crossover game because I think seeing Dante fighting alongside Bayonetta or fighting each other would be super awesome. I love action hack and slash games. They're some of my favorite games to exist. They don't make very many of them. Like, this not a genre that's constantly pumping out titles. Like, if you think of current gen versions of the games, like you have the remasters of the old Devil May Cries, and you have like you can play Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on backwards compatibility, I think, on Xbox, and then Bayonetta is over on the Switch now. But other than that, there aren't a lot of games in that genre that have really come out, especially this current console generation. So I'm really excited about Devil May Cry 5. I'm excited about Bayonetta 3 in the future. But I think having a mashup of those two, having those characters, because with their both over-the-top personalities, ridiculousness, I think it would be awesome. So that is what I'd love to see, Devil May Cry cross Bayonetta.
That'd be really cool, I think.
What is your final, as you say, really bad one, sir?
It might not be really bad. I'm just overly critical. So Stonemaier games, we're talking about them already because of this game, but they did something where they have My Little Scythe, which is My Little Pony kind of meets Scythe, but basically it was a fan made his own version of My Little Pony Scythe, which they couldn't keep because Hasbro didn't want to pay or didn't want to give them the license for whatever reason, which I think is a mistake. But in that vein, something that is going around the internet now, which has become very popular in the board gaming little circles, is people have been taking the Mario Kart riders from Mario Kart Monopoly and putting them into downforce. And they fit like perfectly on the track. And people have gone out of the way and they've made racer cards that look like the downforce racer cards for Mario and Luigi and everybody. I think this is like a no-brainer. Let's get a downforce X Mario Kart.
I think that is a great idea. I think that is the best crossover of what we have said of all of them.
But it's an easy one. Like, I didn't have to do much work to think of that one. It's already been thought of.
Well, right, but sometimes the best ideas are the most straightforward ideas that you're like, oh, that's brilliant. And I think that is a brilliant idea.
I really hope they do that. I think that they have all the tools, and even Restoration Games is like liking the pictures people are posting from it. They're not mad.
Right.
Like, I think it's hopefully that happens, because I think that'd be really cool.
Absolutely. All right, so going from talking about crossovers to talking about something that has nothing to do with crossovers. In other news, Insomniac is apparently a bunch of liars. And now Josh will never play Spider-Man because they didn't accurately represent the final product in their trailers because they made some puddles smaller. And Josh hates it when people show us trailers that don't end up exactly like the final game. He says they're liars. So Josh, how does it feel to know you're not getting the product that Insomniac has shown us many times before? They're a bunch of dirty liars, right?
Well, I like that you hold my feet to the fire on this podcast. I never said I would never play games that did that, first of all. And let's just clarify. Removing some puddles from Spider-Man isn't showing a fully fabricated in-game footage of Killzone 3. Totally different.
I'm telling you, if you watch the no-clip documentary, they explain exactly how that happened.
I know. But there's also 9/11 conspiracy theories on YouTube, so who knows what you're watching from.
Yeah, I trust Daniel O'Dwyer. I don't know him, but he seems nice and genuine.
Sure. Just like Koresh.
No, Koresh.
Seems real nice and welcoming. I know that's extreme. I think, this has been picking up steam, I would say maybe over the past week, I would say. I did see something alarming today. It's kind of spun out into this like conspiracy theory. This is like website VG247 or 247. They posted this article basically saying from an unnamed source that this is common and that Microsoft paid Ubisoft to make the Division look worse on the PlayStation when they released at the same time. And downgrading is very common. And then you have people like this dude who just became like the head of Walmart Canada Gaming, Paul Hunter, retweeting this saying, oh, this is real bad if it's true. So now I'm like, you're just spreading more false information. Not only is it like false information, it's incredibly crazy to believe that Ubisoft would ever let itself be manipulated by a company. Not even that Microsoft would pay them money to do that, but that a company would ever like do something like that as a publisher. They would never do that because they would be out of business if anyone found out about that. So all the Spider-Man nonsense, which I have to assume started on 4chan, and that's just a guess.
I think it was Reddit.
Okay, same difference.
601, half dozen the other.
It's just, I don't understand why people need to be mad about something before they even give it a chance to come out, explain itself, or people can't just ask, like, hey, Insomniac, I noticed you changed the level design. That happens today, right now. Someone changed a level design of a game somewhere, and you might have seen a screenshot for it at Gamescom. Like, what is wrong with people? That's all I can think of.
Well, and I don't want to spend too much time on the puddles because this actually is spinning into a different conversation or is going to extend into a different conversation. Right. But I think the interesting thing is Digital Foundry did an analysis because they now have the game and are like, yeah, no, it's actually running better than it was in the demos that you saw. Like it's
upgraded.
doing more things than you said. Like, yes, there's not a puddle there, but overall, like the game is actually running at a higher level with higher frame rates and everything than what you've seen in the demos. So
Right.
Thanks, Digital Foundry, to the rescue as always. But it does spin us onto the question of the topic that we wanted to talk about of, as a developer, how do you decide what to show people? Because when you see things like this, right, you see that people getting pissed off about a puddle. You see the folks, even other developers, calling out Naughty Dog, saying the animation in Last of Us 2 can't be legit. You see all of the Witcher 3 controversy that happened with CD Projekt Red and saying that the graphics have been downgraded in that after they had showed it the first time. All of these things that seem to constantly be happening. As a developer, like, what do you show? Like, what qualifiers should they be expected to give? Should you just assume that if you see a trailer for a game that's a work in progress, that the final thing might be different? Like, where does the responsibility lie? How, as consumers, should we be thinking about it? And what responsibility, if anything, do developers and the people who are marketing the game, if it's a first-party game from Sony, what responsibility do they have when it comes to this? Do they have to be throwing up splash screens of like game in progress may not be representative of a final product shown running on this TV with this system with whatever on everything that they put out?
I mean, yes and no to all of those questions. Like, it's really up to them what they want to do. I mean, I think the bare minimum is already done. Like, when you watch videos, they say like, product does not represent final
Right.
game footage or whatever. It's changed a lot. You used to see things that would just say like captured with in-game footage. That's
Right.
it. And then you watch a trailer and you're like, oh, in-game footage, that's going to look incredible. And they're not, I don't know that they're intentionally being misleading, but their wording can be misconstrued as misleading. But if they put like that, following footage was captured with in-game on the in-game engine. The following footage does not represent final product or whatever the case be. 2 lines, just knock it out, copy and paste it so you can put it on every trailer you put out ever. And then you just cover in your butt. And then you'll have people who are the Spider-Man people on the other end going, I can't buy this game on day one. They keep saying that it might not be the final footage. Who knows what this game's going to look like?
Right.
So you can't win everybody over. And I think it's real sad that like game scores can't represent the game anymore. Like Witcher 3 Game of the Year edition, huh? And people still give it crap over a downgrade. Maybe they had to downgrade it so the game ran better.
Right.
If they did, they want to give you the best product they can give you. And maybe it's not, maybe the alpha footage they showed you was the graphics scaled way up. And there was no one there were no townspeople, so the frame rate could be higher. And all these things, contribute to that as well. I mean, I get it. Like, it's like a car salesman. You want to show the best looking cars up front, but that doesn't necessarily represent your dealership.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of gotten to the point where it's a bit, as a developer, like I don't even know what I'd want to show off anymore. Like every time it seems like we see anything or something happens, there is worry. I mean, if you watch the huge, 48-minute trailer that they showed of Cyberpunk, like multiple times while in that trailer, the voiceover's like, this does not represent exactly what the final product might look like. This is still work in progress, yada. Like, and they're saying it over and over and over again throughout that entire thing. And I don't know. I just feel like I get both sides of it to the extent of you're showing me a trailer to get me hyped for the game. So your trailer should probably represent what the game is going to be. But I also understand that like these are living, breathing things to an extent, right? Like exactly what you see in trailer A 2 years ago is not exactly probably what the final product is going to look like. It might even look better, So
well, look at Crackdown 3. We're not going to get Crackdown 3 is not going to look anything like what it looked like when we first saw it.
No, it's not. And, even if you think about Borderlands, when Borderlands was initially introduced, the cell shading that they did was not part of the game. That came that came later in a later trailer. So suddenly is it like, well, should they have never showed that first trailer?
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting. I think as long as you're giving regular updates about things and continually, once you start showing your game, if you're continually showing your game and it looks pretty much like that, great. You know, like I don't think that's a big, huge deal. I don't think we need disclaimers running over everything. I don't think we need that. I'm somebody who, if my game, because I'm a console pleb, like if my game is running at 30 frames per second or 33 frames per second, I can't tell the difference. You know, like if it's running at 60 or 64, I can't tell. I don't know. You know, if it goes from 30 to 15, sure, I can tell. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not super worried about those things most of the time, I guess. Is the game fun to play? That's what I would like to know. Is the game fun? So,
yeah.
All right. But hey, that's enough of these two topics. Just a few listener questions to get to, and then we'll wrap this show up for you, wonderful people. As always, if you do have any questions, you can hit us up at BoredWithVG on Twitter or send us an email, boredwithvg@gmail.com, because we'd love to talk about what you want to hear about. And first question of the night comes from super listener Splig at Dopalicious on Twitter. Says, birthday's in a few weeks. Happy birthday, Splig. Do I get gift cards? Duh. God of War, Sagrada, Hail Hydra, My Little Scythe, Villainous, Stuffed Fables, or something not on my wish list? Josh, what say you? What should Splig be getting for the birthday?
Well, you wish him happy birthday. It's not for a few weeks. Let's not get crazy, Kyle.
Well, I'm saying happy birthday coming up because I don't know when it is. A few weeks could be a week. It could be 4 weeks. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. I think it's 3 weeks.
Better early than late.
Okay. Villainous. Oh, duh. Villainous. Only because I love it so. Not like it's a duh obvious. I hate giving gift cards because it's so impersonal. And no shame on people who give them. Sometimes you just have to. I don't mind getting them. But I don't like giving them. I'd say Villainous for sure. However, knowing that it's not just Splig playing and there might be kiddos involved, I would also say Sagrada is a good backup to that. Or get both.
Oh, both. Wow. So I'm selfish and I don't have kids, so I think that works out well because my answer is God of War. Like without a doubt, out of all of those, my answer is God of War because Sagrada is really fun. Villainous is fun. Stuffed Fable's a great game that the wife and I have enjoyed playing together. Like it's great. But you know what? None of those have as big of an impact on me as God of War did. So I am picking God of War. It's a lot of hours. The game is fun. It's got a cool story. It's awesome combat and action. It is a true pinnacle achievement in game making. Whereas those other games, all very good, don't know if they're pinnacles in their fields. So my answer, because I'm selfish, is God of War.
Or if you want, you can just play Hail Hydra and just call everyone boy and tell them their disappointment.
That is an option as well. All right. Hey, Josh, do you want to take the questions from Paul?
Sure. We get 2 questions from Paul Calico at pcalico84. The first question is, what was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, without a doubt.
That's my answer also.
Because it was the best.
It was the best. Yeah, I tried watching the new one.
I was going to say, have you tried to watch the new one?
Even my wife was like, this is awful.
I haven't tried it because I know, like, I'm cool with trying a different animation style. Like, that's fine.
I'm not even talking about that one. I'm talking about the Nickelodeon one.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
Like Splinter is like 6 feet tall. I'm like, why is he so tall?
Yeah. I'll just live with my old ones. That's cool.
Paul, tweet us what your favorite show is. I don't know what yours was, but yeah, I mean, that was the 80s. It was Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other like random shows like Thundercats, which was huge. And
yep, Thundercats was good.
Silverhawks, which not a lot of people remember, but I very fondly remember.
Well, I mean, I still watch like G.I. Joe even then, you know? But,
yeah, and I've started showing my kid DuckTales and Gummy Bears.
Which are both great. Yep, great theme music, especially with Gummy Bears. That is a great theme song. Huh.
Yeah. I don't want Disney coming after us, though.
I know.
So don't sing that. Okay, Paul's second question. If your wife agrees to cosplay as a female DC character for you, which character would you choose? I chose Raven. Sorry. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. And I hope y'all like these weird questions. That wasn't part of the question, but it was the end of the question. First, Paul, before I let Kyle answer, my wife would choose. It's 2018. Come on, I don't choose. My wife chooses. I'm kidding.
I'm not. I am not at all. So here's the thing. This is where like I clearly have a failure in my knowledge of certain things. I'm not much of a comic book person. Never really have been as far as superhero comics. I read a lot of other things, Walking Dead, all that good stuff. But so I'm not super knowledgeable about the DC expanded universe beyond things. So my only real reference point is going to, I'm going to go, why am I blanking on the name of the DC fighting game?
Well, if you're with the cosplay as a Walking Dead character.
No, not thinking that. I want to go to Injustice. I don't know why I was blanking on the name of the game for a second. I'm going to go to Injustice. And the character I use the most, after I changed their skin to this skin and / costume, I would have to go with Power Girl because she was the only character in Injustice that I could be decently okay with. And she seems pretty awesome. So I'm going to go with Power Girl. That's who I'm picking.
That's a good choice. I can just answer it out of experience. My wife went as Batgirl while we were dating for Halloween one year. And yeah, I was a big fan of that. So I choose Batgirl.
Excellent. As always, everyone, like we said, if you have questions you want us to talk about, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter. Josh, what do you say we wrap this show up?
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Remember, you can find us on social media at Board with VG. Use that hashtag Board with VG. We're on Facebook.com/Board with VG. It's been like a little bit of a graveyard on Facebook. That's on me. We'll get better at that. It's been a little slow news on the face space. We're also at boardwithvg@gmail.com. The Lonely Inbox, waiting to hear from Tom Vassell and fan fiction. So let's get on it. One of the two of you. For plugs, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, instead of plugs, I was inspired by Mr. Jason Lacey of Fluxtapose to encourage people to reach out to content creators and let them know if you appreciate what they're doing. With just like a shout out or a tweet, because it feels nice to hear stuff like that. And a lot of people, I won't say that I do, but a lot of people put a lot of work into the content they're putting out. I'm not saying I don't either. But it's a relatively thankless job. We get great listeners, which is awesome. But it's always nice to hear from the fans and hear who's listening. So my recognition is to Jason, because I know how much work he does. And Jason and I are very similar as we have children just a few months apart. So we know raising toddlers, trying to make a marriage work, trying to make work, and do these things we love to do for ourselves when you're kind of put into a selfless job as a father. So I appreciate Fluxtapose doing a live show every week. Jason's doing all this Nintendo stuff for Make Us Better. He's doing live plays on Twitch. So I want to acknowledge at Fluxay, that's FLUXAY, if you want to follow him or say hi, for doing a great job. And Lucas, he's okay. He's no slouch, but you know, he's too busy with his workout routine, so I'll give him some recognition some other time.
Awesome. And hey, he's very knowledgeable about beer as well, so that's always great. Yes. So, well, I'm going to be selfish with my plugs because I'm just going to talk about me. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, and Board Game Geek, all at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. As one final reminder, the Metafall contest is going up. Hit up psvg.blog, look at our pinned tweet at Board with VG, and or listen to episode 46 for all the rules. You could win a free video game from one of the 10 big games releasing this fall. Again, entries are due by midnight Eastern time on September 7th. We hope to hear from you. It'll take 5 to 10 minutes of your time, and you could win a free game. So we hope you are willing to participate. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on the social media because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.